Hello friends, the National Library of Ayurveda Medicine is pleased to present a new episode on Ayurveda. The present release is part of a video lecture series prepared for the education of Ayurveda literature in accordance with the academic curriculum of Ayurveda studies in India. My name is Dr. Sumit Kesarkar and I will be your host throughout this video on Purusha, considered as the prime cause and effect of cosmos. Purusha means pure consciousness. Purusha is the transcendental state of being and existence. It is pure energy, choiceless passive awareness. To understand Purusha in logical terms is difficult. The essence of Purusha lies hidden deep in the realms of spirituality. To simplify it in terms of understanding, we will use a radical approach and try and understand first what Purusha is not by taking up some valid arguments and examples. Before we proceed, let us just define three terms. Prakriti or Maya is the creative force of Purusha that creates the universe. Ahankara, I-ness, ego or ignorance is the individualism in each manifestation of world. Purusha enveloped by Prakriti picks up various forms from a galaxy to an atom according to the perceptions created by the Ahankara. Atman, the self or the soul, the consciousness of Purusha, which is present in each manifestation but seems to be distinct due to the envelope of Ahankara. We will discuss these last two terms in detail in a separate video to get a better understanding of each of them and how they interrelate with each other. If Purusha is considered to be the cause of the universe due to the activation of its creative energy, Prakriti, then we should be able to comprehend Purusha by comprehending the universe, which would leave no room for liberation. Hence, Purusha has to be distinct and independent from its creation. Does that mean Purusha is outside the creation? The answer is no. Because if Purusha is held to be outside of creation, then it cannot be attached with all the manifestations of Prakriti. Also, if it is held to be part outside, part inside, then it contradicts Purusha. The world is not a part of Purusha, for Purusha has no parts. The world is subject to change, while Purusha is changeless. This implies that Purusha remains unaffected as a passive witness to all manifestations of its energy of Prakriti or Maya. Creation does not imply any desire to act by Purusha, as it would detract from his self-sufficiency and perfection. As we breathe by nature without any conscious effort to breathe, so does Purusha activate Prakriti to create the universe. However, Purusha is not affected by the creation of Prakriti, just as a magician is not affected by the result of his illusions. The Purusha is the sole reality, which leads to the question, how can the subject-object distinction exist if everything is one? For example, a person who drives a car sees himself distinct from the car. The answer is that this distinction is unreal. As foam, waves, ripples, and bubbles appear to be distinct, yet their essence is one ocean. By knowing one lump of clay, we can know all things made of clay, like a pot and a jar. Here only the clay has reality, and the distinction is basically a distinction of perception created by the ahankara or ignorance. Just like the clay, the ultimate reality of all manifestations is Purusha, and upon knowing him, all distinctions vanish. If Purusha is the only consciousness, why does it create good and evil? The concept of good and evil is just a figment of our ego. What is held as good in one part may be considered as evil to another, and hence this theory that Purusha creates good and evil and heaven and hell is incorrect. It is just how the Prakriti designs itself to create and destroy again and again. In this entire process, the Purusha stands only as a witness. Thus, on realizing the Purusha, there is no creation and destruction in reality. Purusha can be looked upon as rain, which is the common cause of wheat and barley. Here, Purusha or the rain itself does not have the selective will to prefer barley to wheat. It is the ego or ahankara in each barley or wheat plant which makes them grow their own way. If Purusha is absolute reality, then what is the origin of Purusha? To ponder further on the cause and effect, if Purusha is the cause and through Prakriti the universe is its effect, then whose effect is Purusha? What is the cause of Purusha? Cause and effect are always presented together to our consciousness, and though we may distinguish between them, we cannot separate them. A good example is a cloth, which is nothing but an aggregate of constituent threads. The effect or cloth is given different names according to the particular arrangement of the cause or the thread. So neither the hen nor the egg comes first. Both stretch back into infinite past and promise to stretch to infinite future. All objects in space and time themselves are manifested or are the effect only in relation to the Purusha or the cause, and on realization are ultimately found to be the Purusha as cause and effect. There cannot be an origin of Purusha in time or space, since Purusha itself is the cause and effect of time and space. Beyond the mind, these questions do not exist. If Purusha is considered the essence of the self or Atman of an individual, it is debated then why would it select a prison house like the body with its pains, fears, decay, and death? Purusha is a transcendental aspect of the self when we think of a person's self as a manifestation of the Purusha, thus involving the universe. Though both are the same, the Purusha being the supreme reality remains unaffected by its own creation. Yet the Atman, due to its envelope of Ahankara, out of ignorance imagines itself to be attached to the ever-changing universe and its miseries. Once the Atman realizes its oneness with Purusha by burning Ahankara, it ceases to have any separate perception of its creator. Purusha is the universal aspect of the self which needs to be revealed. Atman is the self-revealing essence deep within us. To the enlightened person, Atman and Purusha are known to be the same. But does this mean the world is unreal? The answer is no. The world is very real and is very much experienced by each manifestation through the realms of Ahankara. But when each manifestation realizes the Purusha, its world ceases to exist as it merges with Purusha without any distinction. It is like a thirsty person who sees an oasis as a mirage in a desert and believes it to be true. Yet, on receiving the knowledge of the reality, it not only makes the oasis disappear, but also makes him realize that it never even existed. One last question: isn't the whole concept of negation of these manifestations wrong? Doesn't the world exist in reality and things are just there how they are meant to be without a Purusha and its Prakriti? The answer here is that a contradiction of something, even if it is just a concept, logically cannot be accepted as truth. True and false are not ultimate contrary to each other but are subjective. From the previous example, the mirage of the oasis in the desert is false, but the statement does not negate its presence because the manifestation of the mirage is true in the mind of the thirsty person. However, the manifestation of the mirage in relation to the desert is false can be taken as complete truth. Similarly, the world is true cannot be taken as complete truth. The same goes for the concept that the world is false. The world is entirely true and manifested to the ones who are enveloped by ignorance or ahankara and who believe their perceptions to be true. Yet the world is false to the ones who have realized the Purusha and are absolved of ignorance. Hence we come to understand that Purusha cannot be proved or disproved by reasoning. To summarize the topic, we have made an attempt to achieve a logical understanding of Purusha. We have understood that Purusha is consciousness which acts as a cause to create the effect of universe through its creative will or energy called Prakriti. Prakriti manifests all the entities in the universe as distinct by enveloping them with ahankara or I-ness. Everything that Prakriti creates is within the consciousness of Purusha and not distinct from it. Similarly, the Purusha, being a conscious part or witness to creation, remains unaffected by it in each manifestation. However, the wheel of Ahankara or ego makes the Purusha enveloped with ignorance and prevents it from its identity, making the mind believe in distinction of good and evil, heaven and hell, and the world as real. This consciousness enveloped by Ahankara in humans is known as Atman or the Self, and though in reality it's Purusha, it seems to be distinct from it due to ignorance. I hope this video was informative and made the subject clear. Comments and feedback are highly appreciated, and you can leave them by visiting the National Library's website at www.nlam.in, or likewise by writing to me at vdsumit@gmail.com. Thank you for watching.